Right. So, hello, everyone. Before we start today, I want to acknowledge with respect the Indigenous peoples and communities whose historical relationships with the land continue to this day and on whose traditional territories all of our work takes place. So, my name is Autumn Sipis. I am the project coordinator with the Canadian Coalition for Green Healthcare. And on behalf of the coalition and our project collaborators, I would like to welcome you to today's webinar, The Future of Battery-Powered Micromobility in Healthcare and Beyond. Throughout the webinar today, please use the chat function for any technical issues you may be experiencing. Use the Q&A function for any questions you have regarding the presentation, and our panelists will be answering questions at the end of our webinar today. This webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be sent out to all registrants and available on our website and YouTube channel at a later time. So this webinar is being presented as part of the Coalition's Zero Emission Vehicle Awareness Initiative, supported by Natural Resources Canada. The goal of this project is to increase public and industry awareness, knowledge, and confidence in zero-emission vehicles, particularly battery-powered micromobility solutions, as well as accelerating their adoption by targeting the health and social services sector. So what is battery-powered micromobility? Battery-powered micromobility references small, low-speed, lightweight vehicles powered by a battery, usually traveling at speeds below 32 kilometers per hour. The most common types include electric bikes and electric scooters. I'm sure you've all seen them around. They are something that's becoming more popular and that we're seeing be more prevalent in our cities with the rental and sharing availability as well. So in 2021, the transportation sector was the second largest source of greenhouse gas emissions in Canada, accounting for 22% of total national emissions. And specifically, passenger vehicle transportation, so cars, light trucks, public transportation, etc., accounted for 57% of the total transportation-related emissions. A huge amount of this passenger vehicle transportation can be attributed to work commutes. Large institutions, such as those in the health and education sectors, see high volumes of individuals traveling to and from their centers every day. Hospitals in particular employed over 675,000 people in 2022. That is a lot of people traveling to and from hospitals, not to mention the high number of people who travel to hospitals every day for treatment and or to visit admitted patients, those kind of things. So Canada is committed to decarbonizing the transportation sector and leading the transformation with zero emission vehicles. Battery-powered micromobility is one form of zero-emission transportation, which is proving to have multiple benefits beyond electric vehicles, making them perfect for commutes and other forms of travel. Benefits include efficiency, accessibility, cost-effectiveness, and versatility. You can learn more about these benefits with one of our recently released fact sheets, The Benefits of Battery-Powered Micromobility. I will put the link in the chat. And so today our three speakers are going to be discussing the future of battery-powered micromobility and basically how we can transform our systems, our governments, our cities, our infrastructure to support an increased reliance on battery-powered micromobility and other forms of zero-emission transportation. So to start us off today, we have Michael Pasquale, an expert on all things electric bike. And he is the exhibit and projects coordinator with the Canadian Electric Bike Association, or CEBA. The mission of CEBA is to lead and advance the electric bicycle industry by providing world-class electric bicycle technician training, comprehensive support to e-bike dealers, and fostering strong relationships with distributors. And now I'm going to hand things off to Michael. Michael?
Sorry, I thought I hit the unmute button, but I didn't. I apologize for that. Thank you, Autumn, for the introduction. I am just pulling up my slides. Bear with me one second. Oh, I'm very sorry. I forgot to reset my slides here.
You also need to turn on your video.
Yes. Bear with me for 1 second. Sorry about that. There we go. Can everybody see? Autumn?
Yeah, looks great, Michael.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Sorry about that. So introduction to battery-powered micromobility. So we're going to discuss a few topics, regulations, rebates for electric bikes, lithium battery safety, as well as e-bike technician training. So as Autumn explained, we do have a pretty good mission here at the Canadian Electric Bicycle Association. And our mission is to lead and advance the electric bike industry by providing world-class electric bike technician training, comprehensive support to e-bike dealers, fostering strong relationship with distributors. And as a key stakeholder, CEBA is dedicated to championing the interest of the e-bike industry through effective advocacy and collaboration with like-minded organizations. Our commitment extends to promoting and adhering to regulations that ensure the sustainability, safety, and growth of the electric bike sector in Canada and beyond. By uniting industry stakeholders, CEBA strives to elevate the standards of the e-bike industry. So, regulations. The current state of regulations in Canada. In February of 2021, the federal government repealed the definition of an e-bike and essentially handed it off to each individual province. And now each province can make their own regulations surrounding e-bikes. We represent the industry through those stakeholder meetings with each province. Most recently, British Columbia and Ontario. In the last 2 weeks, we've had meetings with both provinces as they undergo changes to their e-bike regulations. We will be sending out fact sheets that we have between Autumn and myself. We're working on the fact sheets to everyone regarding the regulations in each province. But keep in mind, they are a moving target and they are constantly changing. That the regulations do cause a little bit of an issue with the choice that Canadians have. By limiting the certain regulations, they're not allowing a lot of US companies in because of the wattage of the motor. So some of our recommendations are to alleviate some of the wattage concerns and create more variety for Canadians. Rebates for electric bikes, the need for a national rebate. Currently, a lot of the different provinces have rebates, but not every province, especially my home province of Ontario. We're the most populated province in the country, but yet we don't have a rebate. And the mandate would be to lower carbon emissions, and rebates are the lowest hanging fruit that we can get to make the biggest impact on those carbon emissions. It will also alleviate a lot of the congestion on Canadian roads. Electric cars are great, but they are expensive. There are rebates for them, but not everybody can afford them. And they also contribute to congestion on the roads with other carbon emitting vehicles. So we see e-bikes as the lowest hanging fruit to have the biggest impact on carbon emissions. And we will have a fact sheet for rebates going out as well. Lithium battery safety. It's been a very hot topic lately, no pun intended. We do have a lithium battery safety sheet, so on important usage, storage, and safety information for lithium batteries. I'm sure most of you've heard about the fire on the subway on the TTC around New Year's. We have reached out to Toronto Fire to get some more information on the root cause of that fire. Unfortunately, the investigation is not complete, so we don't have all the information as to what started that lithium battery fire. But I can say the cell phone industry, the laptop industry had the exact same growing pains as the e-bike industry. When, cell phones were catching fire, laptops, hoverboards, things along that nature, and they overcame them. And we're at the cusp of overcoming those fires at the moment. There are regulations that will be coming into play that will require higher safety standards for electric bicycles as well as lithium batteries. And we're looking forward to that comfort we all have with picking up our cell phone without thinking twice, or using a laptop or any lithium powered device without worrying about safety. So we're at the crossroads right now where regulations are just, they're right there. They're not implemented yet, but they will be. And then we should see the same high level of safety from our lithium batteries. I think Autumn's going to share the link afterwards or in the chat to our lithium battery important usage, storage, and safety information that's on our website. And I would encourage everyone to have a look at it, read it if you have an electric vehicle or know people that have them, and share that as well. E-bike technician training. There is a pretty big gap in our industry. There is a lot of e-bikes on the road, a lot of different micro-mobility devices, but there is a gap because a traditional bike shop doesn't have the ability or training to take on electric bikes. So there's a lot more bikes on the road that are sold direct to consumer from online sellers that don't involve going to a dealership to buy it. So the consumer doesn't get the training. They don't get the after-sale care that they might get if they purchase directly from a dealer. So that leaves a big gap and shortage of technicians in our industry. I was in a meeting the other day with the city of Toronto, and they realized that there is a gap. And I brought up a good point, and I do bring it up in a lot of meetings, that if we put a bike in the hands of everybody in Canada today, there wouldn't be enough people to fix them. So there is that huge gap that we need to get addressed, also for the safe handling and charging of lithium batteries in those shops. So we've identified some gaps in the industry. Brushless hub motors represent the majority of e-bikes on the road, but customers can't get their bike diagnosed. People who bought e-bikes from online vendors or at alternative stores are unable to receive service. Dealers are provided minimal training, if any, for brushless hub motors, except for proprietary mid-drive systems. So a system like a Bosch system, they provide training, but it's only for that one particular type. Shortage of e-bike technicians. Traditional bike dealers don't have the knowledge or equipment to diagnose e-bikes, and they use something I like to call swapnostics, which is probably the most inefficient way you can diagnose anything. It's basically swapping one part out at a time until you find the problem. Conventional bike dealers lack access to adequately trained e-bike technicians. How CEBA is helping to bridge the gaps is we're increasing the workforce of trained e-bike technicians to support the growth in e-bikes, build on the existing mechanical knowledge traditional bicycle technicians have, and train them to be e-bike technicians, gaining the knowledge and confidence to safely work on e-bikes. Dealers will gain the ability to diagnose e-bikes that have a brushless hub motor, and brushless hub motors represent about 80 to 90% of the bikes on the market, of the e-bikes on the market. Our training is designed for somebody with little to no experience. So we start off very slowly, a level 1, 2, and 3, and we build a really good foundation and build off of that foundation. We are working with certain distributors to develop private and custom training programs as well. That's exclusive for their products, so we can help their dealers and in turn help the consumer. We're working with existing e-bike and micro-mobility shops to help increase their revenue. Last year, overall in the industry in Canada, it was kind of a down year for bicycles as well as electric bicycles, and I think the economy has a lot to do with that, and it'll recover. But this would be a way that shops today can pretty much create another business within their existing business with no extra overhead, no extra employees, just the actual knowledge on how to diagnose electric bikes. Who is the training for? So traditional bicycle dealers, existing employees, and new hires. How many calls a day? And what that means is we talk to a lot of dealers across Canada and North America that are getting 3, 4, 5 calls a day to fix someone's electric bikes, and they just refuse because they don't have the technical knowledge or they're intimidated by an electric bike. And those phone calls are revenue. They're people, screaming out for help that you can't help. So they have to call 3, 4, 5 stores just to get service for their electric bike. E-bike dealers, existing employees, and new hires. Do you only service what you sell? A lot of companies out there, if anybody's ever purchased an e-bike, if you try to get service anywhere else, most shops will say, sorry, we only service what they sell, because they're in their comfort zone. They have all the parts for those particular makes and models, and they can swap parts out. If you bring a bike that they don't have parts for, they can't do their swapnostics on it, so they have a very difficult time doing that. And most places refuse to work on bikes that they didn't sell. E-bike rental and tour operators, they got to keep their fleets running. You can't rent a downed e-bike. So that's where our training comes into play to help those rental companies. Mobile repair service. Over COVID, there's a lot of mobile repair services that would come to you. It'll create a new revenue stream that they didn't have before, and again, with not much overhead, just the knowledge. Distributors with custom training programs and private training. And for individuals looking to get into the e-bike industry, we get a lot of inquiries from people that have an e-bike, that want to open a shop, but they want to have training first because they understand the need for it. They've already brought their bike to a couple places, didn't get service at all, or couldn't get great service, and they see a need in their area for someone that's an expert in their field to be able to diagnose bikes. What you will learn in the training. So you'll get in-depth knowledge of each electrical component in the e-bike system, how to diagnose failures quickly, safely, and accurately in 15 minutes or less, ability to diagnose each component, whether it's on the e-bike or it's taken off the e-bike and you're doing a bench test. And the way we teach our training is it's a very easy to learn, repeatable process. So it's a multi-pronged approach to learning. We understand people learn in different ways. So there's hands-on portions, there's portions where you're watching slides, there's portions where you're watching your instructor do it live, and then you're repeating that process. So we understand people learn in different ways. So no matter which way you learn, it will be taught in a way that you will be able to understand. So you'll learn how to solder, use a multimeter, how to safely diagnose battery capacity, not just test voltage. Most places, if they're checking a battery, they just check voltage, which tells you if it's charged or not. We're going to teach you how to diagnose how much capacity is left. Best practices for testing, charging, handling, and storing of lithium batteries. Again, pretty hot topic. We want to make sure that you're doing everything safely in your shop. And you're going to get hands-on diagnosing with an instructor verification to ensure that you're doing everything safely and accurately. Some details just about our training program. So we have a maximum of 6 students, and that's a great number because it lets our instructor and myself spend one-on-one time with each student to ensure that you're following the steps and you are progressing as we go through the training. Training is 2 days, 6 hours per day. So again, it is all online with a live instructor providing step-by-step instructions. you will get a diagnostic tool that is included. We would ship that out to you, as well as a manual that you would be using during the training. So we're going to teach you how to use that diagnostic tool as well. The hands-on part, again, ensures every student understands the diagnostic process and is very comfortable and confident working on micromobility devices. And as a safety blanket, you get 1 year of technical support. So I just spoke to a student today that I trained on Monday. So I'd like to follow up with the students and make sure that they are fully grasping, and just to follow up to see how well it's working for them. And of course, the multi-pronged approach to learning. As we know, people do learn in different ways. When your training is completed, you will have a CEBA e-bike technician certificate issued when successfully completed. So that looks really, really good on your wall when customers come in, and it gives them the confidence to want to purchase from you and understand and know that you care about the industry and you took the training necessary to safely work on their e-bike. Some of the benefits of the CEBA e-bike technician training program is safety. That's priority. Everybody's safe when they're working on electric bikes. Right now, the industry is working on bikes with no training for their technician, and they're kind of guessing on what to do. So proper training reduces the risk of accidents and injury during repairs, making the workplace safer for both employees as well as customers. Increasing sales. A skilled technician ensures high quality repairs. Satisfied customers are more likely to return for future purchases or recommend your shop to others, creating a positive reputation that can drive sales. It'll give your shop a competitive edge. Okay. CEBA e-bike technician training will give you the ability to diagnose your competitors' e-bikes, as well as e-bikes sold directly to consumers online. I'd have to say that's probably the biggest issue we have. Is there's companies that exist that only sell bikes online, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's when the consumer needs service that there's a big gap. And a lot of shops, like I said, they won't service anything they don't sell. So that's a big issue. And it's a problem for consumers. Consumer confidence. Having a CEBA certified technician and certificate displayed in your shop shows customers you care about the industry and are committed to after-sales service. E-bikes have been around for a while. People will probably be on their first, second, or third bike. And they learned a few lessons along the way as the industry matured, that if I buy a bike online, or if I buy a used one, or if I buy a bike anywhere other than a dealership, I might not be able to get service on it. So they're wising up, and they're understanding that there is value in going to a shop to purchase your electric bicycle. Efficiency. Well-trained technicians can diagnose and fix issues quickly, accurately, and safely, reducing turnaround time for customers and increasing your shop's efficiency. Long-term viability. We know e-bikes aren't going anywhere. So as e-bikes become more popular, having skilled, trained, CEBA certified e-bike technicians will position your shop for long-term success in a growing e-bike market. You're going to gain new customers. If you ever said, no, we only service what we sell, or sorry, we don't service e-bikes, only bicycles, CEBA certification training will give you the ability to turn those inquiries to, yes, we diagnose e-bikes. And just a little fact that there is revenue to be had in diagnosing e-bikes, and it's growing every single day. So the average rate for diagnosing an e-bike in North America is $80 to $150. That rate varies. Even in the US, that's the average rate. So from Canada, US, we're seeing about $80 to $150 to diagnose an e-bike. But you're doing more than just diagnosing an e-bike. You're helping, your distributor, their brand. You're helping your store and your brand, as well as helping a consumer. So it's a win-win-win for the industry when you've taken e-bike technician certification training and can actually help the industry. Thank you, everyone, for hearing my presentation. And you can visit our website for more information, cebassociation.com.
Thank you, Michael. That's great. Next up, I will introduce Tony Stewart, our next presenter. He is the co-founder and CXO of Elocity, a pioneering Canadian company at the forefront of EV charging.
So Autumn, it says that I can't share my video because you've done something.
Okay, that's okay. You get your presentation set up and I will work on that.
Is everyone able to see that okay?
Looks good.
Awesome. Let me just... So let me just thank the Canadian Coalition for Green Healthcare for inviting us today. And when I was asked to talk about the future of charging for battery-powered micromobility, first thing that came to my mind is this. I always hear this statement about prediction being very difficult, especially if it's about the future. So I'm going to try my best today to talk a little bit about what we think could be the future for battery-powered micromobility. Our company currently is providing EV charging technology for, regular-sized electric vehicles, passenger cars, trucks, etc. So micromobility is something new for us, but we're very excited to see what we can do to help in this sector. See if I can. So a little bit of pause in some of this. So yes, as Autumn said, my name is Tony Stewart. I'm the co-founder and CXO at Elocity. Technically, I'm the Chief Customer Experience Officer, although I often joke that the X stands for anything and everything, because in the last 5 years of building a startup, it's definitely a lot of challenges, and there's many things to do. I don't know if any of you have been involved in a startup, but it's quite exciting, and but definitely you have to have flexibility to do a lot of different things. So our mission really is just to enhance the EV ecosystem. We want to increase EV adoption in general. Our tagline, a connected EV world, we focus on building open interoperable technology so that more software and hardware can link together to provide better, more cost-effective solutions and just encourage mass EV adoption. So just see how my slides are working here. So over the past 5 years, we built something called Hive technology. I'm just going to show you guys a very short 2-minute video on it. It kind of explains it better than I can. Let me just click here. And let's see how I can increase that.
Electric vehicles are here, and electric utilities are preparing for them. People love electric cars. Businesses see a great opportunity, and governments are supporting the EV ecosystem. But everyone is looking for better EV charging solutions to manage their charging needs. The convergence of electricity and transportation is already stressing electricity grids. A sustainable mobility solution needs utilities, EV owners, and cities to work together in close coordination. Electric mobility business models rely heavily on interoperable and collaborative digital infrastructure. We at Elocity digitally empower EV charging for electric utilities, cities, and businesses. Our purpose-built smart grid technology, Hive, connects EV owners, EV chargers, and electric utilities into a sustainable and low-carbon grid. The Hive platform brings interoperability, data privacy, metering, and smart controls to EV charging. Hive's machine learning and AI capabilities reduce the EV charging costs. Our technology is built on industry-standard protocols, which include the OCPP, OEDR, OCPI, Green Button, and blockchain. It is designed to enable a viable, sustainable, and affordable future for electric vehicles. Hive delivers EV demand response and managed charging for electric utilities. Design and launching of utility-scale EV programs, real-time smart controls to customers, demand prediction and forecasting, smart EV charging networks, EV load management for multi-unit residential and commercial spaces, EV-ready homes. Elocity's strategic global presence and partner network is geared up to empower an electric mobility future for everyone.
So yeah, so when we were asked to discuss about micromobility in large vehicles, that is really the concern, is that we don't have enough power on our electricity grid to help everyone with charging unless we use this type of advanced technology. And I'm happy to say that with our technology, we are able to help. So currently we work with a lot of condominiums and places, anywhere where people are doing charging and they just don't have enough power to support everybody, and we were able to provide this solution. Micromobility doesn't drain a lot of power, so one of my concerns about it was, how we're going to try to create an economically viable model that could allow for charging and other services. So let me just so what we thought about is the idea of maybe e-bike hubs, a place where we could combine services, including maybe some of the things that Michael was talking about, a place where service technicians and maybe e-bike riders and other people could, come together. And definitely it was very impressed upon me about the fire and safety standards that would be necessary around e-bikes, I guess, as they're evolving. And but more than anything, I thought that e-bike hubs could maybe provide like attractive amenities and make e-bike something more of a community that people might want to be more part of. Because as the chief experience officer of our company, I know we pay close attention to UI, UX, and everything about the customer experience. And I just think that like anything where people have a better human experience and stuff, it's just going to create more endorsement. Like if I went to a place that I really liked, I'm more likely to tell people like this was a great experience, and then more people are likely to try it. So we've been in discussion with the really nice people at Sunnybrook Hospital, and they've identified an area that we're doing a feasibility study right now to see if we might build sort of a first of its kind prototype e-bike hub. And this would be a place where anything and everything around e-bikes could be centered, and maybe bring more awareness to e-bikes. But just creating a nicer experience. I think that people might want to join that community and have more people join. And through that, of course, we would provide charging services and everything else. But I think that as a standalone service, like charging itself, there's very, very little power that's utilized or needed from an e-bike. So I don't see an economic viability outside of creating a larger community and maybe group of services. And thank you. That's the end of my presentation. So Autumn, you're on mute. I'm not sure if you're going to introduce the next person or.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate it. Next, I'm going to introduce Scott Crawford, the Business and Development Specialist at the VCT Group, a company which designs and installs distribute energy that transforms underutilized spaces. Take it away, Scott.
Yeah, thank you. Tony, I'm not sure if you're still sharing your screen or not.
I stopped sharing it.
Okay, there we go. So yeah, as Autumn said, I'm from VCT Group. We're primarily involved in the engineering, procurement, and construction of renewable energy projects in Ontario and federally. We primarily focus on both the solar and EV charging spaces. But with that being said, a lot of our solutions can be well integrated with micro-mobility solutions, and can also help accelerate the electrification of transportation in Ontario and across the nation. So let me share my screen here. All right, can you guys see that okay?
Looks good,
Yes.
Scott.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, one of the major ways that we at VCT Group are trying to contribute to micro mobility and EV charging solutions and battery solutions as well is integrating our solar canopies. So we've kind of coined them as a Helio Station is their name. And going right here, I'll just jump right into it. So these systems are real. You will see a lot of renderings throughout the presentation, but we have developed a few of these systems as well. So the Evolve 1 building, this is actually located in Waterloo, and you'll see the address later in the presentation. But this actually is one of Canada's first zero carbon certified design buildings. So our partner Cora Group, approached us and said, there's not enough space on the rooftop to make us net zero. So what other solutions can you provide? And this is really the early days. And our president here was actually considering putting trackers into the parking lot. But some of the partners there at Cora Group reapproached us and they said, especially within Europe, we're seeing, canopies being developed. So then we really dove into it and started our initial design. And ever since then, we have really look see in the later when I get into another project that's more of a refined product. This is sort of our pilot. So since this time, we've really improved in a lot of areas, and I'm going to touch on a few of those. So first and foremost, our solar system or Helio Station is modular. So we do have different designs for different projects. So we understand that one of these designs isn't going to work for every project. So we really dove into being able to construct these in different formats to meet our clients' needs. So something major within the industry and is a concern is the water tightness of these canopies. So to be transparent, what we learned on the Evolve building was that these canopies were not completely watertight, and there's other ways of doing it. Not ideally, but in the industry, a lot of gaskets and caulking is used as a solution. Throughout our experience at Evolve 1, we needed to find a different solution. We didn't think that this was feasible to make it watertight and be a long-lasting system. So what our engineers and designers did here is actually integrate a channeling into our canopy design. So all the water is being channeled towards the front of the canopy or the front of the slope. And from what we've seen with our new project at 375 Haggie in Waterloo, with our newest design, it's completely dry underneath. So as Tony was saying, people want to have a good experience when either they're charging their bike or they're charging their vehicle. They don't want to be covered in rain or covered in snow. So we're really proud with the solution that we've come up with and providing a good user experience for the users under the canopy. Another thing is that we decided to go with all aluminum. If you guys have seen these canopies around, we do have some competitors in the industry, and they're primarily using steel because it can be a bit of a cheaper material and a bit easier to work with in terms of construction for general contractors. But we decided to go with aluminum, and the reasoning there is that first and foremost, it's not going to rust. These systems need to look good to become widely adopted, right? So using aluminum. They're not going to rust. They're going to have a 40 to 50-year lifespan. And we can also powder coat them in different colors, to really make it a beautiful system. And the way that we've designed this, and we also have an installation guide for general contractors. We've really made this system so that there's no welding. It's really modular, so we do all the cutting and drilling and fabricating in our shop. So if we ship this out to another contractor with our installation guidance, it's a relatively easy system to develop. Another major concern in the industry is just cable management. So we've seen a lot of messy systems where cables are hanging, cables are stolen, or they're damaged. So we really wanted to integrate into the beams of the system to really hide those cables and make the system as clean as possible. This also makes the owner happy, and that they can have a system that they're proud of, and it looks well put together. So what are the use cases? So I mean, anywhere with a parking lot, or skipping by itself here, apologies. So yeah, we see this for fleets, we see it for hospitals, we see it for farms, and just generic parking lots. So really this can go anywhere. And the reasoning there is that, sometimes, maybe at a farm, they don't have a feasible rooftop in terms of, the load requirements for solar. For, Evolve 1, for example, that's a net zero building. They didn't have enough space on the rooftop to generate the electricity that would make them net zero. So putting solar in the parking lot was helped them able to achieve that. So sometimes roof spaces aren't large enough. Sometimes they're covered in HVAC units or what have you. They're too crowded. So we think it's a really good solution to provide solar in underutilized spaces such as parking lots. And again, it doesn't have to just be for parking lots. We're really looking at this, as a solution for, walkways, parks. You'll see here, even gas stations have approached us, big gas companies, to maybe integrate these systems, into, their business model. The one you see in the bottom right-hand corner there, that is an early render of Caledon Yard. So we're actually constructing that right now. So it's being used to, kind of store snow plows and keep them, out of the snow and, away from UV. And what you see in the bottom left-hand corner there is kind of a render that we did for autumn for hospitals specifically. So again, people want a space where they can, store their e-bike, they can charge their e-bike, and it be, a simple user experience and a meaningful user experience as well. So we really see many applications in which our canopies, can help out our customers. And an important note here is that in each one of the foundations for our canopies, we already have rough-ins completed for whether it be EV charging or micro-mobility chargers. So it really allows the owner to expand as needed without the need to tear up the parking lot again and again. So when we develop this system, again, we're roughing in every foundation to be ready for the future. Just some overall benefits for these systems is, I mean, first and foremost, as we said, you can integrate micro-mobility and EV charging stations under these canopies. You can recover some of that civil cost from the return of the solar, and I'll explain sort of how that works later in the presentation. Next, you can maybe generate some returns from premium parking. People are more inclined, if hospitals or a business owns a property in which people are paying for parking, or they have reserved parking, people will want to park under the canopy. They'll want to have access to a charger. So that's another good benefit of our system. Another thing as well, especially here in the cold climate of Ontario, is snow clearance savings. So, you know, as I said, the canopy is watertight. We, you know, provide enough clearance where we design systems where, you know, most of the snow is going to fall off in the drive aisle, and that's going to be cleared. But in terms of under the canopy, you know, without harsh winds, it's going to be, you know, relatively dry and clear under the canopy. So again, these systems are real. This is the first one that we developed, as I discussed, at Evolve One. So again, it's Canada's first LEED certified platinum building. This system, the carport was around 500, just over 500 kilowatts DC, and the rooftop was just over 260 kilowatts. And this was sort of, you know, our crown jewel. We're really proud of this system. This was just down the road at 375 Haggie for Cora Group once again. And this was sort of the new design of our system. So that's when we started integrating, you know, the watertight solution and, you know, the cable management. So this is a really beautiful site. If you do live in the Kitchener-Waterloo area, I really incline you to check it out. It's something cool to see. And this one we also did for Pickering Casino. So this one you can actually see the EV chargers integrated into the canopy. And again, this can go hand in hand with micro-mobility, charging e-bikes. And my last point, I just kind of want to explain how the solar aspects work. So a lot of people aren't aware of, you know, how solar projects operate in Ontario. In previous years, there was what was called the FIT program through the federal government. So that stands for Feed-in Tariff. So through that program, people were able to install solar, send it back to the grid, and be paid a premium on the power that they're providing back to the utility. Since that time, FIT programs have been eliminated from the province of Ontario. So now most projects are done through what's called solar net metering. So if I use a simple example of a residential home, if a residential home is using around, you know, 15,000 kilowatt hours annually, and we install a system that can produce 15,000 kilowatts annually, the system is still going to be grid tied. But what's going to happen is that if the system is overproducing, that power will be sent back to the utility, and then it essentially rolls the homeowner's meter backwards. They're accumulating credits on their bill that they can apply for possibly, you know, those more winter months where maybe the system isn't producing optimally. But really what we're trying to do is offset the usage portion of the bill. And sometimes we can tackle, you know, distribution and other bill charges, but we're really sizing a system to offset the current usage of a residential homeowner's home or for a commercial building. And that is my presentation. So in summary, we're really trying to provide, you know, innovative solutions to electrified transport in Ontario and support you know, micro-mobility. We don't have a lot of innovative solutions here in Ontario currently. You know, carports especially are, you know, being developed in mass over in Europe. So France actually just has they have a new piece of legislation that says if a parking lot is large enough, it must have solar canopies. So again, we're really trying to tackle the issue you know, of our grid with these solutions. And we want to see this, you know, adopted not just in Ontario, but throughout Canada as well. Thank you, Autumn. Autumn, I think you're on mute.
Thank you, Scott.
No
So I was
worries.
saying to myself. All right. Okay, so now we have a bit of time for Q&A, and if any of our speakers even have questions for each other or have anything else they would like to discuss, I'll invite them to put their cameras and back on and unmute themselves. And if any attendees have questions, please add them to the chat. I will also say we have a webinar exit survey. So if everyone who joined us today could please participate in that, I would really appreciate it. It'd be very helpful for our reporting. So I'm just going to put the link in the chat. I will also send it out when I send out the webinar recording and the slides and all that good stuff. It looked like there's one question from Sylvie in the chat, just from your presentation, Tony, about whether there was supposed to be images with the audio that you sent, or if it was just the audio.
I'm sorry, did you guys not see images when the audio was playing?
No.
Okay, I think that must
Oh
be
well.
must be a technical issue. I will yeah, I think you said you'll send everybody like a PDF version and they'll have a link to that. Sorry about that. I was able to see the video. I've seen it a
Oh,
million times.
I just thought it was supposed to be the audio. I was like, I didn't think anything different. I was
Oh
like,
no, there was
we're just
lots of
listening to
video.
this. Okay, well, good to know. Well, then the link will be, I'll be sending out the presentation slides. So if anyone wants to view the images that go along with the audio, it'll be present there.
I had a quick question for Michael, if you're there, Michael.
Michael's on mute.
Yeah.
Here.
So my question was, I guess, you know, you're saying that one of the issues within you know, the e-bike industry is the lack of service, especially from, you know, the local dealers. Are there any, you know, options for the manufacturer to fix some of these issues? Like, are the owners able to, you know, whether I'm not sure how that would work in terms of shipment, but who's ever manufacturing these bikes, are they able to, you know, send the bike back to them to try to find a solution, or is that not ideal?
Well, that wouldn't be ideal because think about it. There's distributors in British Columbia and
Yeah,
there's shops that are buying them on the other side of the coast. So
yeah,
to ship an actual bike back and forth, and that's probably would be the most inefficient way to
yeah,
to do that, right? So
yeah,
the problem is our industry's been around for a while, and when new companies come on board, they're assuming that the bikes that they're selling to a certain shop, that the shop already knows what they're doing,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So that's kind of the issue, and they don't feel it necessary that they provide the training. Now, don't get
yeah,
me wrong, there are companies that do provide training, but it's only for their own proprietary systems,
yeah,
not other types. So
yeah,
not all dealers go without training, but they go with the training that the brand that they're carrying, and they're trained on their specific brand on that specific system only. If they
yeah,
carry two or three other brands
yeah,
of uh, of bikes, they might not have received any training for those particular makes and models. So
yeah,
that's where the gap is. I think you know, is the onus on the distributors to provide training? Is it should dealers go get their own training? There's a big gap there, right? And at
yeah,
the end of the day, it's kind of hurting the consumer because they want to buy bikes, and if they buy them online, if they live in rural areas where there is no dealership, and
yeah,
they want to get a bike, that's their only way to do it is to purchase it online. And problem is, once they need service, they're really kind of stuck, and that's
yeah,
something that they don't think about. That's why we encourage to, at minimum, buy it at a dealership so you know you're going to get the support for that particular product. They'll have parts
yeah,
for it. You know, their process might not be the most efficient process because they're guessing and diagnosing, and they eventually find the problem and
yeah,
get you back on the road. But yeah, definitely shipping it across the country is the most
yeah,
inefficient way to
yeah,
do it.
yeah, yeah. And you're mentioning some of the rebates. What are sort of you mentioned that they're not in Ontario, but what are sort of the other provinces doing to, you know, incentivize the ownership of e-bikes?
That's a great question. So in British Columbia, they have cargo bike rebates. In the Northwest Territories, there they have rebates, but they don't have a lot of people up there. So we have rebates in places that there's not, you know, the highest population, where our government mandates is obviously to lower carbon emissions. And the fastest, lowest hanging fruit to do that is incorporate a rebate into Ontario, where we have 15 million plus people, the most populated province in the country, but yet no rebate. But the government's screaming from the rooftops that we need to lower carbon emissions. And they're not giving a rebate for our most populated province. So it's kind of torn there, right? And it's fragmented. Like, same thing with regulations. It's very fragmented from province to province, as well as rebate. We don't have rebates in every single province. And ideally, we want to align, and we're going to align with different organizations and then pursue the federal government for a national rebate, which would clean up a lot of that mess where one province over has a rebate. And if you live by a border town, you can get a rebate just across the street, but you can't get one in your own province. So it's pretty frustrating for consumers and dealers, because they would definitely increase uptake if they had a federal rebate and it covered every province.
It'd also be nice, especially, sorry, just within, you know, that industry of e-bikes specifically, just to have even local incentives for widely urbanized areas. Like, I'm sure we've all driven, you know, in the traffic in Toronto, and it's not a pleasing experience. I know that if I lived in Toronto or a major city like, you know, New York, I think an e-bike would be, you know, my solution. I'm not trying to drive in that mess.
It's frustrating. We're on a committee in Toronto as well, a micromobility kind of task force, and municipalities could give rebates. But in Ontario alone, we have 444 municipalities. So then again, you're going to have one municipality that has it and the one beside it doesn't. So it's going to be fragmented again. That's why we need that federal blanket and the federal government to kind of lead the rebate program. Not just the importance of a rebate program. It's significant, but it's also how it's implemented is just as important. If they make too much red tape for businesses or people to actually utilize that program, it's not going to be, it's going to kind of defeat the purpose of it, right?
Creating more barriers than there needs to be. And
exactly.
I think beyond rebates to, you know, having infrastructure funding available as well, you know, for actual development of storage facilities at different institutions would really help as well when we're talking about using these devices for commutes. They are expensive, so having that infrastructure available is also, you know, a barrier that could be removed. And we are going to be releasing, I'll mention, a fact sheet on rules and regulations as well as incentives and rebates. So for anyone listening, keep an eye out in our newsletter for when those will be released, because they do provide some information, you know, even though, as Michael said, it's a little fragmented. There's, you know, definitely places where there is rebates and there's not, but at least it's all in one document with links. So we'll be releasing that soon as well for everyone.
Autumn, I know we're coming near the end of time here, but Michael sort of just reminded me to mention some incentives for solar and battery power within the province and federally. So I forgot to mention in my presentation that the federal government has actually enforced a 30% investment tax credit. So it's basically, you know, offsetting 30% of the capital cost for renewable energy projects. And we've really seen this, you know, move the needle with certain, you know, clients of ours recently. Getting access to that 30% investment tax credit has really, you know, widely incentivized those to, you know, develop renewable energy projects. And I hope, you know, similar things, you know, come to Michael's industry, because, you know, from what we've seen, it can certainly really accelerate things.
Definitely. Yeah, thanks, Scott. No, and as was mentioned, you know, the government saying, oh, we need to reduce emissions and we need to electrify our transportation sector, but are we providing the funding to do so? I think they're getting better, but there's definitely a lot of room for improvement. I also quickly wanted to bring it back to the lack of training availability. It is something we did 4 user profiles of healthcare workers across Canada, and that was the biggest issue that they found is finding people to help them, make repairs on their bikes. And one person in particular was, I think, in Woodstock, Ontario, and she said the closest one to them, they would have to drive a few hours to get that the service to their bikes, but their bikes are so heavy that they can't get it into the bed of their trucks to transport them to this facility. So they're or to this place to have them serviced. So that's also a challenge, is actually transporting them to the places, if they are available, how far do you have to go to access them still? Because there are a lot of remote communities that, where these devices can still be used, but we have to think about, oh, how do we get them to where they need to be and make sure there's enough availability to service them. So,
yeah.
All
I
right.
could touch base on that a little bit, Autumn. There are a lot of people from rural communities that face that exact challenge that what you just said. They buy the bike, but then they don't realize when they need service, it's hard to get. We're getting a lot of those people saying, hey, there's a lot of people in my neighborhood and in my community that have e-bikes and they're all in the same boat. And that's when someone from that community actually reaches out. And even if they don't open a store and open a full-blown business, they at least have the capability to repair bikes. And that kind of takes care of that one community. And that's happening over and over and over. So eventually, almost every community, like they have a general store, will have a shop to fix, or someone in that community to fix electric bikes. And it's a great opportunity for someone to kind of open a business doing that, because there is a pretty good revenue stream on the other end of that as well. And you're helping the industry and you're helping people, right? So there's a great
Exactly.
opportunity.
And like you said, there's a clear gap all across Canada in these communities. So definitely a great opportunity. Okay, so it's 10:03. I think we can leave it there. I will put my email in the chat in case anyone has any questions down the road here. And thank you everyone for joining us today. Thank you to our presenters. I really appreciate you guys being here and putting in the time to present. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Autumn.
Thank you, Autumn, and the Green Coalition. And I just want to say, hope everyone has an electric day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thank you.
take care, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.